All right, good evening, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here tonight. I know you guys already had the information about some tests that we had that they were deemed to be false positives, and we have resumed normal operations ever since then. So, I want to get on with you tonight and answer any questions about our football program that you may have. With that being said, open to questions.
First question goes to James Krupia from the Oregonian.
Mario, the Pac-12 protocol had said one PCR could override the positive antigen. Lane County and I believe OHA is also one. The release said two. Was that a choice, or was the department protocol even more strict, or basically why was the second, and how long did it take for the PCRs to be processed?
Well, everything, all medical questions and protocol, it goes right through, of course, all the health authorities you just mentioned and our medical staff as well. And everything was followed to the T. And that's what we did. And, of course, sometimes it makes you a little bit impatient. You want to get going right away, but it took about a day or so, and it was done, and we were able to resume our practices like we normally do.
Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
Mario, how big of a loss do you take Saturday's scrimmage being, and is there a plan to reschedule, and how does that impact the remainder of your fall camp schedule?
Well, when you lose a scrimmage, certainly it's pretty impactful, and you can't really cram an extra 130 plays in the rest of your schedule. But we did plan to play live ball anyways throughout the course of this week, and we have, and we did today as well. And not all of it, some of it was stud, some of it we stayed up, but some of it, we went out there and we played ball, called it, headsetted it, the entire thing like normal operations, because that's going into camp. We felt that was going to be the most important thing that we can do, is just continue to get repetitions at what we do as we install a new offense, as we continue to elevate the standard of our defense and our special teams. So, of course, it's always important, but it's that kind of year. We've got to adapt and move on.
Ryan Thorburn, Register Guard.
Mario, what are kind of your range of emotions as, a guy that's in charge of these 100 young people during this time? Is it, a range of concern, relief, maybe frustration? What goes through all these different tests?
Yeah, a lot of stuff goes through your mind. It's I guess the first thing hits is a dose of reality. What's going on and transpiring around the world and the college football world, and what different places have had to deal with. At the same time is immediately just trusting the processes that are in place, because I get to see these every day. I get to see the people that are here at 4:30 in the morning and leave way past where everybody else is already far gone and home and on with their day. So the first thing that comes to your mind are your student athletes, making sure that they're as healthy as they can be, and at the same time, should something happen, that you provide whatever necessary to make sure that they get healthy or stay healthy. So of course, as a football coach, the planning part, the practice part, you wonder, okay, how do you fit this together? But it's kind of been the theme that I think the entire country has had to have, is you have to be adaptable. You have to be able to roll with whatever punches come at you, make the adjustments and go forward, because at the end of the day, that ball is still going to be placed on the tee on November 7th and kicked off at 4:30. And no one's going to feel sorry for us or any other team that may have an issue. So all those things come into play. So you're just at it 24/7, and, really, really pleased with the urgency of which this matter was handled with, and at the same time with the results that we had.
Tyson Alger, The Athletic.
What did you guys do for the last 3 days? How did you guys make use of that time being not able to practice?
Well, we were able to get, we had planned to have a scrimmage and then 2 days off of our feet. Okay. So we ended up having 2 days off our feet, and then a very thorough walkthrough last night with the guys that were not waiting for results to come back. So we still made a lot out of it, and in every phase, offense, defense, and special teams, and took the time to really take a deeper dive into our own schematical, I would say, corrections, issues, areas of improvement, jumped into some of the things that we have faced in the past that we may face this year that have given us problems. Haven't jumped on the opponent full bore yet, but just some bits and pieces here and there. So we made great use of it. Our meetings were still intact, both via Zoom and in person with the guys that were all negative, and via Zoom with the guys who were waiting for their tests to come back negative. And today we got after it. Today's practice was a very thorough, long, physical football practice, a typical Oregon Tuesday. And really, really pleased with the way that we came out there, and the fact that we're throwing our guys into drives that have extended play. You know, you're jumping into 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 play drives and testing them. And being that their legs were a little bit more fresh, we expect them to handle it well, and they did.
Matt Preem, 247 Sports.
Yeah, Mario, is it sense of confidence, and you feel well that the systems in place worked? I mean, you lost today, and that's not good, but is it confident knowing the system in place and it worked for you?
I do. I feel very confident in them, and I think without anyone in the country having a real handbook of having gone through something like this, I thought the responses surrounding it, the way that people urgently were at just immediately at the side of the people that needed to be, I thought it worked out pretty well. You always want to go faster. I mean, that's just the nature of all of us, right? We want things right now. We live in the day and age of instantaneous gratification. So, and I could see these processes continuing to get better and better, knowing now as time goes by and as we try to get these things to stand the test of time, things will come up and processes will improve. So, yeah, I think it's all headed in the right direction.
Mario, we asked kind of what the mood was for you in the days following the positive test. I guess, what about the players, not specifically those that tested positive, but just the group knowing that they lost some of this valuable time?
Well, I thought the thing that really stood out on Saturday, guys really wanted to play that night. Like, there was a lot of juice and a lot of just energy and want to get after it type attitude heading into Saturday night. And you could tell those guys really felt it. They really want to get after it and knock each other around pretty good. So, but I also think that dose of reality also serves as a great lesson. I mean, that could be the case for us, could be the case for any team around the country, right? Where you may be down a few guys. And what do? You adapt, you overcome. So I think it's a great indication of, you know, what your team can and will handle as it comes your way. And the expectation is that leadership has to come from the locker room, and it's going to be looked at and leaned upon, because in a year like this, where it's more than just football, right? There's a lot of different things that every single program in America has to deal with. You're going to have guys that are made of the right stuff that can galvanize a place when it goes through something like what we could have had. You know, for us, it was ended up being a fire drill, right? That's what it was. Well, I think, you know, the hair on the back of everybody's neck was like, okay, this may require us to really just turn it up and go the extra mile. So all in all, just a lot of stuff learned through the experience, and grateful that we continue to go forward and progress as normal.
Go back to James, the Oregonian.
Mario, with the Pac-12 issuing also some additional guidance and clarifying. First part was it's 10 days of isolation if they were confirmed positive versus 14 days if through contact tracing deemed a high-risk contact. That almost seems more punitive. And obviously this question about cooperation and the incentive for a player to cooperate basically with contact tracing if they know they're going to be out even longer than the person who tested positive in the first place. I realize these were negative ultimately, but did you get a sense of how devastating this could have been even with one confirmed positive through the contact tracing? And secondly, what if this happens during a game week? The Pac-12 says you'll have access to PCRs on the day of, but are you confident if somebody tests positive morning of the game, that if it's a false positive, you can turn around and play, and what your own plan is for the coaching staff if something like this arises?
Well, there's a plan for everything, you know, especially the coaching staff. And we've gone through it a bunch of different ways. And, you know, it all depends on what kind of game it is. You know, different games require different guys to carry, sometimes a little bit more than others. So, but we do have a plan for that. A sense of how devastating it could have been. I mean, you lose personnel. We've never built this team to feel devastated. You know, certainly guys felt for the guys that were at the time having to sit out while they awaited the results of the PCR. But I just got to be honest with you, we don't sink into and we don't give into feeling devastated, or we just don't give in. So I hope that answers that question. But I think you had like 14 questions in there. I answered 2 of them or 3. So what was the other one?
No, just the confidence that if there was a false positive or a antigen positive on the day of a game,
Gotcha.
that with access to PCR, that it could be
Sure.
processed in time to get a player or a coach for that matter.
Yeah,
on the field clear.
I'd love to comment thoroughly on it. I do believe there's a process in place for a rapid results PCR or something that's close to being established in that form. So, you know what I'll do is I'll find out exactly where that is. So next time I get on here with you guys, I'll get you that information.
Matt, 247 Sports.
The scrimmage, I'm sure, was an important one to figure out who your starting quarterback is. Has that altered your timeline of when you want to announce? Because I understand that you also need to get that guy in a rhythm and a groove with the rest of the first team. What's your status there?
You know, the way that we practice, I think being in a rhythm and being in a groove is just part of our normal processes. Naming one, I think that's probably more important for the outside world than it is internally. You know, our guys watch our guys perform. Right now, we have tremendous confidence in 2 guys. You know, Tyler is currently running with the ones. But that being said, Anthony has done and had a great camp, and he is right there pushing and is going to continue to push, and we'll allow him to push. And it's important to mention that Jay Butterfield has done a great job and has really started pushing ahead as a guy that could be counted on, as a guy that's getting, you know, the majority of the third team reps.
Eric, 247 Sports.
Yeah, Mario, I know a while ago we asked about Samsunu and kind of what his status is, and it's been a couple of weeks since that. I'm curious for an update on kind of where he's at, and also, I guess, Jonah Chalianu. I know you mentioned he was dinged up. Kind of what is the status with those 2?
Yeah, you know, I'm giving Samson some space and letting him deal. And I know I'd love to get that information, but I also want to be respectful to him as he handles some personal business. Jonah's healing up. Jonah got a little bit dinged up, but Jonah will be practicing, I imagine, within the next 3 to 4 days.
Brandon Gibson from Rivals.
Hey, Coach.
Hello.
I take it you had the chance to check out the game on Sunday. Could you share your thoughts on Justin Herbert's continued performance?
Well, I think everyone on here that has seen him play forever, everyone's super excited and happy, but I don't think anyone's surprised. Not in this camp over here. I mean, I think the part that I enjoy most is people getting to see what kind of a leader and person he is. I think we all knew that they were going to see the magic that he creates when he's on the field as a player. I feel just incredibly awesome for him, his family, the program, everyone, when they see how people rally around him, his leadership skills, the way he brings it all together. And the relentless competitor was always going to show, but the fact that it's all coming together and the way that they won that game, it's awesome. I have it cut up for me so I could speed through it. So I don't have the time to sit down and watch the whole thing. Yeah, I'm just grateful he's such a big timer. I actually get a text message back from him, you know, whenever he gets settled in after media dealing with you guys. So it's pretty cool.
Warren Williamson, Oregon Duck Football News.
Mario, it really comes down to time now, 11 days until game day. You had a little bit of a hiccup here in the schedule. How close are you guys reality to playing right now? Could you go this Saturday, or is there still a lot to do together?
I think if you asked any coach for extra time, they take it. I think we're really close to being able to play to the level that we expect ourselves to play. And we are pushing it. You know, our practices they're not dress rehearsals now. You know, we go and there's only one way to play that way, and that's to prepare a certain way. So we've covered our situations, any and all football situations, multiple times. You know, our Saturday mock scrimmage will certainly cover some things that are really unique, some things that have come up that are even more unique that we haven't seen before the last several weeks in college and pro football. because those situations may come up again, and our guys are just it's incredible. The use of the opportunity to learn from others, watching others play, and some things that have gone well and not so well. So, I mean, I'm sure everyone saw the the Penn State Indiana game and how critical, and how, I mean, how many guys can actually hit the brakes and take a knee down there before getting in a wide open end zone, knowing that, hey, this is going to be the difference in us taking the air out of the ball. So, so it's a lot of really good stuff, and I think our guys are going to be ready when the time's right.
Andrew Hobner, KZI.
Coach mentioned, the reality, kind of coming back in when you have something come up like positive antigen tests. There's been other programs that have been kind of dealing with tests in and out of their athletic department the entire summer. This was a first, even if it was a false positive. For you guys, is that a catch off guard kind of moment? It's out there, but this was, so late into the game for you guys the first. I mean, was there any feeling of surprise when that number kind of came, even though, it turned out to be a false positive?
Well, I would say it was a little bit of a surprise just because we haven't had any, and we've been at it for a long, long time now. I mean, it's more than a few thousand tests that we've run through here. And the fact that if you could see, and maybe I should have filmed it, the way our medical team and our processes, our protocol rolls now, I mean, I don't know how you could do it any better. I really don't. And that's not just to praise them because we're trying to sell how good they are. It's not. It's just the reality of it. And so, yeah, catch you off guard. And then so right away, you just want to know, okay, let's go right to process, process, safety, health first, everything else. And then find out, okay, is this really something that, let's validate it or unvalidate it. And so, fortunately it was unvalidated, and next,
Just as a quick follow-up to that, in the meantime, while you're waiting for those PCRs to come back, I mean, is that gear sort of turning in the back of your mind that, these could be false positives, and, maybe reassure yourself of that at that point?
The things that go through my mind, we don't have too much time to go through all the things that go through my mind, especially as you're dealing with situations like that. To me, look, we're so into this thing here. The first thing that comes to your mind is, all right, how does it affect your players, their families, your coaches, their families? And you start going the next step in the process to make sure that you're doing the very best you can by all of them. Those are things. You're very process oriented as it relates to everything. I know that sounds boring to the outside world, but we believe that it's critical to being successful and productive in all the things that we do, especially in times like this.
Jerry Thompson, Ducks Illustrated.
You're on mute there, buddy.
You're still muted. We'll move on to somebody else. James, the Oregonian.
On the personnel front, Mario, just some guys that we haven't heard very much of anything about so far. I just wanted to confirm what their status was. Isaac Townsend, Jake Shipley, we just hadn't heard anything so far through camp. And in the photo of the inside linebackers from over, I guess, late last week, I couldn't tell if Isaac, if he was limited in some way or if he just didn't have his jersey on in the photo, assuming that was him behind the mask. What was the status of those three?
Man, you're fishing for trouble way too early in this preseason, man. Okay, both Isaac and Jake Shipley are doing extremely well. And Isaac's already been here for a year, so his body has already changed dramatically. He's 255, 260 pounds. And, he is getting some pretty good playing time in there. He started off with the threes, but he's getting worked in there with the twos. And Jake Shipley is developing extremely well. Here's a guy that when he was here in the wintertime, in the fourth quarter program, and during the beginning of spring ball, you could already tell the guy's going to be a really good player. Now with Jordan and with Austin coming back, obviously, the interior of our defensive line has gotten stacked a little bit more than we thought it might have been this year. So he is getting his reps. We think he's going to be a great football player here. Inside linebacker, Isaac is perfectly healthy and having an awesome camp. And all those linebackers are having a great camp. Drew Mathis is having a great camp. The three young guys that you hear so much about, those guys are all just extremely special, explosive, downhill, tough, smart guys, and they're being groomed by a couple of older, hard-nosed, demanding guys that are getting the best out of them. That, and with the tutelage of Coach Wilson, we expect that to be one of the strengths of our football team.
Tyson Alger, The Athletic.
Nobody in your building is surprised at what Justin's been doing, but if you listen to like talk radio or anything, you would assume he just learned to throw the football like 2 weeks ago. How is his role different in that type of offense versus what you guys have been asking him to do last season?
Oh, it's a different offense. Obviously it says it's a completely different offense, and he's excelled in it and done a great job. All hats off to him, hats off to the coaching staff over there with the Chargers. They're doing a great job, and he's certainly excelling. And receivers, tight ends, backs, offensive line, they're all hitting on all cylinders, and they are fun to watch.
Last question goes to Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
I know Coach Mirabal was saying last week that Saturday's scrimmage was going to be pretty instructive and kind of finalizing and getting some idea on who those 5 guys would be. Without that scrimmage, is anything coming into clear picture? Do you have an idea of kind of what that's going to look like at all?
It's clearing up. It really is. And I think the part that's really exciting is we feel that we have 4 guys that can play tackle and a 5th that could jump out there in an emergency. We feel we have 3 guys that can play center and developing a 4th. We feel we have 5 guys that we could rotate inside and a potential 6 that could move there in a pinch. And I mean, some of these are the same guys, they overlap, but feel really good about where we are, feel really good about the leadership that Alex Forsythe has provided. I think that's so different. When you start playing with the ball in your hand, a lot of times guys slow down. Alex has done the opposite. He has sped up, and when you're a center, you're almost like directing traffic out there. Air traffic controller is what you are, right? You're pointing, you're calling out numbers, you're making line calls. Those things are being passed down. Everybody's communicating. So all in all, I know Coach Mirabal, and you've seen the way that he grinds. He's like nothing else in the country now. He's got these guys poised, ready for a big season.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. You guys be safe. Have a good night. And go Ducks.